Welcome to MedShark Insider with Bill Fukui, your expert host on all things medical marketing and SEO.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of MedShark Insider. And today I'm actually going to learn a lot because the person I've got on with us today is Madi, and she actually oversees all of the community development, the Google Local, and links and stuff like that when it comes to SEO for all of our legal and our medical clients. And so I have her on today, and we're going to be addressing some of the things that practices haven't really thought about when it comes to marketing their website and their Google business profile. And there's even things that you can do yourselves, things that you need to participate in. This is not a totally mercenary thing. So welcome, Madi. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Living the dream, Bill.
Good. Do me a little favor and just give everybody a little bit of background, just so they know who you are and kind of what you do here at MedShark.
Of course. So I am the Director of Community Outreach, which is a very vague title. My department handles anything that's, from a marketing term, it falls under the category of off-page SEO, which means that it's anything that's outside of the website that matters to the business. So my department handles everything from public relations to social media to press releases and directory building and Google business profile maintenance and all of the other things that happen outside of the website, where the main goal is to create links or connections from those external sources and bringing them back to the practice's website.
Great. So you kind of mentioned, the links, and that's almost something that I always hear from practices about. Oh, so what is this link building? And we talk about link building, and give me an idea, or give the audience an idea of, number one, what it means to do link building and what's kind of changed. I mean, we've always heard about link building for years, ever since SEO became a term. Everybody's talked about getting backlinks, and so kind of educate us a little bit on what that means and really what's kind of changed over the years as to what people used to think of backlinking. And you talked about some of the things that you're doing today that's very different than what we did back then.
Well, it's very different, and it's changing constantly. But I guess for an initial definition of link building, my favorite analogy is to use LinkedIn. So the entire idea of creating these backlinks that are connecting from external websites back to the practice's website, it almost negates the goal of a website. The goal of any website is to get people to come to that site to stay as long as possible until they convert. So the fact that a website would say, oh, I don't have that information, and really you should go here for that expert opinion, or you should go here to find more information on this. That is such an authority signal to not only Google and the way that all of these websites interact with each other, but also to the end user or the potential client. So fundamentally, all of these backlinks work in a similar way that LinkedIn does, where all of these different people, all of these different websites are connecting back to your practice and saying, hey, go here. They are the expert in XYZ. And the more people you have in your corner who are shouting it out to the internet or to the world, saying that you're an expert in whatever it is, that's going to continue to boost you as an authority and help get you in front of the potential clients that need your services. So that's kind of the best analogy I have for link building. It's a difficult process within SEO to kind of explain or wrap your head around because there are so many nuances to it, but that's That's the best way I've found to explain it.
I think that's fair. But years ago we used to. This is 25 years ago. We actually had my daughter, who is now a doctor herself, was working for us, and she would just do registration. Go to these websites and register our clients and get their link on these directories, and that's what we used to do as link building. 20 years ago or so. That's no longer the way to really get not only just high volume, but also quality. Talk about the quality of the backlinks and where that all comes in.
Of course. So kind of hearkening back to that LinkedIn analogy, if you just have Joe Schmo saying on LinkedIn, yeah, this guy's great, that doesn't really do it for potential clients. But if there's another top surgeon that says, I refer people to this doctor, and I recommend him with the highest regards, him or her with the highest regards, that goes a lot further. So the same kind of thought process can be applied to backlinks, where those more authoritative websites pack a larger punch in terms of the signal that they're providing, again, not only to the Google bot, but also to those end users. The tactics that you use to create those backlinks has changed over the years. Directory link building, or it still is like a fundamental part of the strategy. But there are, at this point, there's a new fad in terms of in the link building world, which is very small, but we geek out about it a little too much. But there's constantly like new projects or new ways to get links from different authoritative websites that used to be the tried and true, decades ago. The algorithm was obviously completely different, and it was much easier to manipulate. At this point, if you're just looking at the way the algorithm works in regards to the Google business profile for local rankings, there are over 300 factors that go into how the search results look, depending on every single keyword that's put into the system. 10, 20 years ago, it obviously was there were fewer ranking factors. So it was a lot easier to do one thing and have that really just skyrocket your business.
Right.
At this point, Google has gotten a lot smarter. So having a holistic link building strategy where you're not only just getting those directory links, you're not only getting links from external blog sites, but you're also reaching out to your press opportunities. You are providing quotes or reaching out to those journalists. You're running your own podcast. You're getting involved in your community and showing that you're more than just a business, but you're a member of your area, or you want to give back to your community in a positive way. All of those different things that are happening outside of the website, there's almost always a way to connect that digitally and get a kickback for any time or money that the practice may already be spending.
You kind of talked about these link buildings, and most people are talking about link building, just going into the website, and it was always the traditional SEO that that link building was really targeting. I literally just got off the phone with Brenton 5 minutes ago when we were talking about domain authority and building up the domain authority of that website so Google sees it as a credible, trustworthy, authoritative entity. But I asked him, and I'll ask you the same question: how does domain authority and building links, does that affect your Google business profile? Does Google see any signals from that? Does it help you get into those, that all important 3-pack, map listings? Give us an idea of kind of how does this all work, right? How does this all work together?
Of course. So domain authority, I guess, first and foremost, is not a metric that's provided by Google. There are different tools that you can use to track your domain authority or your page ranking. It's called slightly different things by the different tools that you use. In our agency, we use multiple tools to create an aggregate number so we can have a better idea of what Google is seeing. And we're not just taking one tool at its face value, because every single one of those that can calculate domain authority really is just doing their best to try and figure out how Google is creating that very specific algorithm or that piece of the algorithm. So first, got to take it with a grain of salt. But domain authority is one of those ranking factors. There's 300 of them. It is a towards the top of the list. So while I can't necessarily sit here and say, oh, it's 17th on the list and it has a 12.5% effect on local rankings, we do tend to see businesses that have a higher domain authority tend to rank higher. Now, the factors that then go into determining your domain authority also make sense of why your rankings would be higher, because you would have more pages of content on your website, you would have more traffic, you would have more backlinks from more authoritative websites. So all of the other ranking factors that are towards the top of the list for the Google algorithm are also variables in calculating domain authority. So there are mixed opinions in the digital marketing space about whether domain authority itself is important or if its aggregate or the variables that add up to it are really what you should be paying attention to. But either way, it's something that we track, and that we're, again, trying to pull that average to see the growth based off of the content that our team is publishing on the website and the links that our team is creating.
Great. Yeah, and I would tend to, out of the two that you said, it would be definitely it's not trying to manipulate a number. It's kind of like what you're talking about. It's the end user. It really is just being a truly a more authoritative resource, whether it's content, whether it's your leadership in the marketplace, PR, doing things that you're part of the community. All of those things, I think, make a lot more sense instead of just trying to, focus on a number.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a question then, the Google 3-pack, that's become, when I came over and started working with you guys, you were the first ones to really focus in on, even doing competitive research and identifying different locations and suburbs. We recently heard about, maybe a year or two ago, about this Vicinity update. And, number one, I'll ask you to kind of clarify what that was, number one. And number two, I've heard from other practices say, well, my digital marketing agency says, the Vicinity updates, there's nothing you can do about it. You're not going to show up outside of your immediate location. And so they don't do anything, So number one, explain a little bit about the Vicinity update, but really, does it create opportunities that weren't out there for other practices even before?
Yes. So the Vicinity update was the best and worst Christmas gift I ever got. Google tends to roll out updates in mid-December and decided in 2021 that it was going to be the year for the biggest local update in 5 years. And we saw so many changes just across the United States. Almost everybody got, there were, the entire point of the Vicinity update was to kind of equal the playing field. So for businesses that used to have one pin on the map in the downtown area and they could control the whole metro area, their reach shrunk exponentially. And all of those other smaller businesses that are further out from the downtown area or even in the suburbs in a completely different city or market, those businesses thrived and got their rankings improved overnight. it was just crazy changes, both positive and negative, for different businesses and clients that we have across the country. And it all happened within 72 hours.
Right.
Fundamentally, the Vicinity update is supposed to be helping the end user, because if you're looking for a hairdresser, or if you need a grocery store and it needs to be within walking distance because you live in a metro area and you don't have a vehicle, you want the closest options to show up for you. But unfortunately, for service industries where you are willing to go a little bit farther, like for a plastic surgeon, sometimes people are flying across the country, let alone, you're not necessarily going to go to the plastic surgeon that's around the corner from your apartment. So there are certain industries that after they rolled out the Vicinity update to everybody, Google was like, oh, wait, this doesn't really apply to all of these other practice areas. So we did see in certain industries over the following like 4 or 5 months that Google was rolling back some aspects to the Vicinity update, and some of those larger businesses were getting a little bit more, but not even close to the entire metro area that they were seeing prior to that. So for smaller practices, we saw a big boost and they were able to reach their target market or where they physically were located. But for those massive businesses, it didn't really matter what industry they were in, they drastically lost that market share. Now to answer your second question in terms of ways to, really ways to like manipulate the algorithm to a certain extent and expand your reach farther than just the pin on the map, there are certain attributes that can be added to that Google business profile to help boost or expand that market reach. Now, the A answer, which is our biggest strategy, is to get a pin on the map. There is only so much you can do. So, for example, there's a business that we work with in Washington, D.C., and they're on the southwest side or southeast side of the district. And because it's so populated with competitors in that downtown area, even if we're adding these different attributes and service areas and all of these things that are helping us expand it slowly in that southwest corner, we're not able to surpass that downtown area very easily. There is one attribute in particular for Google Business Profiles called service areas, and that does help us sometimes, depending on the market, practice areas, and the competitors, make that jump. But it doesn't help us fight if there's a pin on the map. So even if we're adding like the downtown area to that list of service areas, because there's an actual competitor there, they are the ones that trump. They are the ones that win that battle because they're physically located wherever that searcher would be on the map. So there are ways to stretch your reach or to expand based off of your pin, or even sometimes make that jump if the market is set up to do that. But if a competitor exists and they have a decent Google business profile that's got reviews and they look good and they've got some sort of digital presence, it is very difficult or near impossible to try and fight a pin with just attributes.
Just attributes, okay. Other than attributes on the profile, so in terms of, I know they kind of expanded a lot of the forward-facing, assets that they put on those profiles. So they, now they do area served, or locations or whatever area served. But they also have things like products and services, and especially for plastic surgery and cosmetics, it's absolutely appropriate. For products and services, it's a natural. Whereas, say for attorneys, it may not be as an easy fit. Especially when it comes to products. How does that all? Is there any influence in terms of updating that profile, in the services and the products and stuff that we're adding to those?
Of course. So the products do help or do show up on the front end, and they have for a while. And while we are like actively testing to see if keywording descriptions or adding the city or the geo to the descriptions for those products helps move the needle, it doesn't necessarily look like that's a major ranking factor at this point in time. That doesn't mean it can't be in the future. That doesn't mean it wasn't in the past. The general rule of thumb for anything Google Business Profile related is if Google is giving you the opportunity, you should take it.
Yeah, why not?
Exactly. So for the products, it does add a very nice like visual to the front end profile. You can add pictures of your products. For our plastic surgeons, we generally focus on the actual like tangible products that somebody could take home from the med spa or a skincare line or something like that. The newest thing is the services. So for years, you could list on the back end of your profile all of your different services and what you offered for clients, but it never showed up anywhere on the front end. You couldn't see it as a user. You couldn't see it anywhere on the front. And in just the last few months, probably about 4 months ago, we started to see it on the front end on search results. And not only is the list showing up, but you can also now add descriptions. So we are actively running case studies, testing to see, okay, does just the title move the needle? Does a title and description move the needle? Does geos help? So this is something that's brand new to the space that we're actively testing to track its ranking factor and see if it helps move the needle, especially for more niche or less competitive terms. It may be just the little thing that you need to get from the number 3 or the number 2 spot into that number 1 slot in the search results.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, one of the things that I would say is practices have become much more, it's like medicine in general. People want more control of their own healthcare, right? Well, practices want more control of their digital marketing. They really don't want to be, you know, the internet to be this black box. And the perfect example of that is the growth of social media in plastic and cosmetic surgery. Practices now, you know, it's no longer a mercenary type of thing where you just hire somebody to do it like your website. They're actually participating and contributing, and quite frankly, they're doing a heck of a lot better job, a lot of them, than any digital marketing agency could do, right? Simply because it's us, it's who we are. I always looked at when Google, you know, shut down Google Plus. That doesn't mean Google gave up on social or, you know, online consumer engagement and all those signals. I always looked at, you know, the Google business profile. That is now Google's form of social media. That is Google's. It's the meta of search, right? So, and I encourage clients, you know, to almost treat it like a social media profile. I mean, you have access to it. You can get. I mean, there's nothing you can't do on your Google business profile that you can do on any other social media profile. In fact, you can do more on your Google business profile yourself than you can do on Facebook or Instagram. You know, in terms of content you can add, the type of content you can add, reviews and questions and answers and updates and content. When it comes to updating the profile, what advice would you give, you know, a practice? If I'm looking to grow my Google business profile's authority or whatever to help my agency, what can I do to help? You know, what could I do on that profile?
Yeah, so there's the two biggest pieces of advice I would offer would be continued maintenance or actual like active monitoring, which I'll dive into, and then really reviews and strategic reviews, not just like throwing everything, all of the spaghetti at the wall. In terms of maintenance, so like you're saying, Google is they got rid of Google Plus, but they've also instituted, and it's gotten much more popular over the years, the local guides program.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And that's where anybody on the street can create a Google Gmail and then can start the process of becoming a local guide. And there's levels to this, and you have to leave reviews and update GBPs. And all of those people are prompted by Google. I'm signed up for this. I get notifications on my phone all the time of, hey, you just passed by this store. How did it look from the front end? Did they have a handicap accessible entrance? Do they have a bathroom that's accessible to the public? Well, I don't know. I just passed it on the street. I don't know if that information exists or not. But because Google is tracking my location, it is also sending me that information through the local guides program. And unfortunately, some people, whenever you say yes or no or maybe, that gives you points. So whether you know the answer or not, it doesn't matter. Right. And so some people are abusing the local guides program so that they get more points and they get these benefits. And there aren't really benefits to the program. I don't understand why people do that, but
they want the notoriety. They want people
exactly
that they're
but it can do harm, or it can be an explicit action against a business. So whenever a local guide or any person submits a note or an edit to a Google business profile, the primary owner is alerted, and it shows up on the edit page of the Google business dashboard in orange for 72 hours. So if you don't have somebody monitoring that profile, those changes go live within 72 hours if the business owner or the person who has access to the Google business profile negates that information. So we have had it where, we're onboarding clients and they're like, well, our calls stopped 2 months ago and we just really need help and we don't know what to do. And the answer is a competitor changed your Google business profile number to their number 2 months ago, but nobody was monitoring the profile before you started with our agency. And it's as easy of fix as just swapping that number back out. But because nobody was looking and nobody was checking the information, competitors can go and change the information just as easily as a local guide can.
That is the most, I'm going to tell you, that is the most eye-opening thing that I know most of our audience has never heard of.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Somebody
the amount
else,
of power,
or especially a competitor, can go in and change my data on the business profile. That's crazy.
Yeah. So active monitoring is important. It's very easy as long as you just have somebody that's checking those emails and checking the back end of the profile just on a weekly basis at a minimum. So that's my number one piece of advice. And then the second would be getting Google reviews. Google has some absurd market share when it comes to search engines. I think it's over 90%. But those reviews and the star rating that it totals up to, those are two of the highest ranking factors that go into the search results and into who shows up in that free pack. However, one concern that we've run into with clients is that they may have only one location. And if you only have one, then you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. That's fine. But if you have multiple offices, some businesses continue to put all of their eggs in one basket into their main location, and they don't really send reviews to their satellite offices or to the other locations that they have across a metro area or across the state. And if it's in a suburb or if it's in a smaller market, you don't need hundreds of reviews as if you were in a downtown metro area. So looking to see what the competition has within that area, who is beating you for the keywords that you care about, how many reviews do they have, and can you surpass that? That's really the kicker that a lot of people don't think about. They're just like, oh, I need as many reviews as physically possible. But if your competition only has about 50, there's no reason for you to have 500.
Right. And again, I think there's just use judgment. Reviews are such a valuable commodity today, right? We only have so many of them, right? So what we do with them has high value, and especially when they're our best customers, they're willing to go out and champion, us, and leveraging those, it's critical, and I've even said it's okay if clients at some particular point start sending them to even other review websites. Once we reach a critical mass of, if I've got 300 reviews on Google, but I have 0 on Health Grades or on my Facebook or on any other review platforms, it almost looks a little contrived, a little manipulated, right? If I've got 500 on my Google business for my one location and then no reviews anywhere else on the internet, there's something not normal or organic about that, right? So I do encourage clients to, at some particular, obviously Google's going to be the most important. And I do feel, and I don't know if there's statistics, I'm pretty sure there's statistics out there, that is the #1 source for reviews for consumers. That's the first place they look at. There used to be, oh, well, they look at Yelp or they look at all these other places. Now it's Google. The very first thing people are looking at is their quote Google reviews. So obviously that's going to be, the highest priority. What about the engagement on reviews, in terms of responding to reviews?
Of course. So whether it's positive or negative, we recommend responding to them. So at this point, whenever a business does respond to a review, the person who left the review gets a notification. They get an email. So if it's a happy client and you ask them to leave a 5-star review and they do, and it shows up and everything's working out, leaving a little thank you note that's public. One, it gives them that little ego boost, a little affirmation, but they are also directly notified. And you can leave a nice message for a client that, that was really happy with your services. So leaving a personalized positive message to pair with that can help build that connection to that specific client. On the flip side of that, for any negative reviews, those are one of the first things that potential clients who are looking to convert or have the potential to convert, that they're going to check. And okay, not every business is perfect. Not everybody can have, 1 million 5-star reviews and not a single negative one. And honestly, like as a consumer, I appreciate negative reviews when they're there because I can see how the business reacted. So responding to those negative reviews in a professional, clear manner, saying, hey, I'm so sorry that you had this negative experience with our business. We would love to have a conversation and figure out how we could rectify this, is an easy, clear response. Sometimes you may even get an actual response from that person and you're able to turn that negative experience into a positive. So responding to reviews is very important.
Yeah, I always looked at it like, most of my practices, even when the heavy marketing practices, when I talk to them before they even come on board, one of the first questions I ask is, how much of your business is referrals from patients or other providers, and how much of your business is through direct marketing? And if they don't tell me 50% or more of my business comes from referrals, then either they've got a bad product, even if they're spending a lot of money on marketing. Either they've got a bad product or they're just not out there stimulating, these reviews and referrals. Keep in mind, like what Madi was saying, is that consumers that post a review, they are your most likely referral candidates. Somebody that's willing to go online, put their face out there, put their name out there, and champion and talk about you. You don't think that they're going to want to talk to their friends and family and other people, coworkers, etc.? Absolutely. These are the people that they want people to know, right? They want to be, be seen, want to be heard, etc. If we don't respond to them, there's nothing more demoralizing for somebody who goes out of their way to do something and they don't get a thank you, that they don't get some acknowledgement that you even saw it. So absolutely, and I get practices say all the time, okay, now that you're telling me to do this, should I go back to those reviews that was like 6 months ago or something? I said, it's okay to go back to them and say, hey, I just saw this. Hey, FYI, I just saw this. My bad, my apologies. But we appreciate the nice comments. And with HIPAA, you do have to be careful on how you respond or what you put in your response, but really just talk high level. Don't really talk about their procedure or even that they're a patient, right? Even saying, our breast augmentation patients are some of our happiest clients, right? We don't want to, say that kind of stuff, but in general, just absolutely at least acknowledge that they went out of their way to do this for you. Because it'll not only help you with your Google rankings, hopefully, but it'll also help you stimulate more of those happy referrals, from patients, because quite honestly, that should make up at least 50% of your business or more. I'm going to bring this full circle one more time, and we're going to end with I'm going to end with a question, Gabby. Maddie, when we're talking about taking the Google business profile and the website, I've had questions where a practice would say, well, I love all the things that you told me about the Google business profile. Can you just optimize and do my work for my Google business profile, and then I'll let my website company do that? Can you really get maximum results by separating them? Having one person do this and somebody do something else?
The only way you could get maximum results from that is if the people that were working on those two very different things were on the same page in terms of strategy. Within our agency, my department is the one that manages the Google business profile. And we have a content team that handles content and a development team that handles the actual technical side of the website. But the fact that all of us are on the same page in terms of the overall strategy, what the goals are for that year, or the long-term goals are for years in the future, it means that all of our efforts are in line. So as soon as you start adding more cooks to the kitchen or having different vendors or different businesses handle one aspect of your SEO or your digital marketing versus another, you're just adding more cooks to the kitchen. So you're not, the communication is going to get messed up, strategies may change, and different businesses have different goals. Our biggest thing is the Google business profiles and helping get those to be as big and as big of a reach as possible. But other marketing agencies have a different tactic. Some are socials focused, some are PR focused, and our goals may not be the same as theirs. So adding more vendors into that process, while it has the potential to be successful, historically, we haven't seen it have near as good of results as the clients that we work on entirely from a full SEO strategy perspective.
Right. So from content to links to other timely things that leverage timing, seasonality and stuff that are coordinated on the website, they really do have to speak to each other. One of the things that Brent was telling me was man, interlinking and linking so that we're sending the right signals to Google regarding the Google business profile as well as the websites. They got to work in harmony. It's like you got a limited number of assets, right?
Right.
And you need to leverage those in order to maximize, the opportunities or the resource to get more bang for the buck. So
exactly.
That's great. I'm going to tell you, Maddie, I always learn stuff from every time I talk to you. So
good. We'll keep it that way.
I'm going to walk away, and I'm going to at least make sure that our audience walks away with monitoring those profiles. I mean, that's a scary thing. Monitoring a profile, it's a simple but important thing. Reviews, and really, what are we doing to kind of make that profile more authoritative, and not just the profile, but your entire footprint, your digital marketing footprint. It all impacts your, how Google looks at your business, your Google business profile, your website. So all really good stuff, Madi. If you don't mind, I'm going to probably ask you to join us in the future for another update, only because there's so many things that keep changing. I think our audience would love to hear more from you.
Of course. And Google likes to break things that aren't broken. So I'm sure you'll be hearing lots from me.
That sounds great. Thanks again, Madi. Have a great day, and we'll chat with you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you, Bill.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for the MedShark Insider with Bill Fukui. Join us next week for another dive into all things medical marketing. All episodes can be streamed at www.medsharkdigital.com/MedShark-Insider.